Have a few minutes? You won't believe what you can do with it. Open a Regions checking account online in as little as 5 minutes. Then enjoy award-winning service and banking tools and tech that help you live in the moment. Learn more at regions.com/live in the moment. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
Broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Gas South Convention Center in Duluth, Georgia, it's time for Gwinnett Business Radio. Gwinnett Business Radio is presented by Regions Bank, Brave the Beginning, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. It is your slightly annoying host, Stephen Julian, with my trusty co-host, Harper LaBelle, here on Gwinnett Business Radio on Business RadioX. How you doing there, Harper?
Great. Good morning, Stephen. I think for a number of reasons, you are already happy and will be even happier because of our guests today.
Yes.
There's a couple of different ambiances that go in with where they went to school and affiliations and then
what
profession.
They do.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So we are thrilled to have the Peet family from Kettlerock Brewing. Before we get to them, I do want to remind Harper and everybody else many other reasons why we're happy. We're happy because we are broadcasting from the Gas South District here in the Convention Center, and we're also happy to be bringing you Gwinnett Business Radio on BusinessRadioX.com. We're also happy to be in the Subaru of Gwinnett studios, and we're also happy that Gwinnett Business Radio comes to you because of Regions Bank. We all know that keeping your company's financial future on track means having the right resources to support your growth. Regions Commercial Banking offers you lending capabilities and strategic solutions tailored to your needs, and you'll work with a team of experienced bankers here in Gwinnett. Discover steps to take that can help move you closer to your business goals. Regions is here to help. To learn more, visit regions.com/commercial-banking. Regions Bank,
member
FDIC. All right, so we're happy about that. We're happy about the studio. We're happy about the show, and we're happy about our guests. We have Stephen Peet, Dianna Peet, and Devon Peet, all from not Peet Brewing, Kettlerock Brewing. Peet family, welcome to the studio.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah.
Very glad.
All right, so Kettlerock Brewing. I think it has to do with beer, but let me get out of the way. You guys decide who's going to answer the all-important first question. Tell us about the company and exactly what you guys do.
Kettlerock Brewing is a family-owned local brewery in Peachtree Corners, and we are just shy of 2 years old right now. We'll tell you a little more about that later.
Steve and Dianna, you guys are married.
Yes.
Okay. You have Devon, you are their son.
Indeed.
And there are other family members. I believe there are 4 children total, and they all at various points work in the business.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. So, Steve, let me ask you. It started 2 years ago. I kind of have a feeling it started with you and Dianna. So talk about how it started.
So it actually started in 2018. We started talking about, what could we do as a family business? And
Actually, I got to jump in here. When you say it started in 2018, it actually started almost 10 years ago now with my older brother when we were at Georgia Tech. We were in the basement of my grandmother's house because she was closer, and that's where we were living.
Some people would call that the man cave, but they all had beards, so it was called the beard cave.
Okay.
And my older brother spearheaded this idea of starting home brewing. And so, of course, obviously in college there are reasons to have large quantities of beer. But we were also all at Georgia Tech, and it was a cool thing because you kind of combine this art and science, right? You've got the science of this is like very precise measurements. Timing is very important. Making sure you get every stage exactly right. Very important. Write everything down. Scientific method. But there's also a lot of art in it and figuring out exactly what to drop in or
what the ingredients are.
Yeah, if you taste it and you try and identify, that's not quite right. Well, why exactly? What are you tasting that's not right, and what part of the process might it have been? And so we did that, and we iterated, and it was for us. It was a fun thing that we did. Obviously, like I said, we had lots of beer on hand for obvious reasons.
And you remember the defining moment when they decided we've made it is when Taylor's girlfriend at the time reached into the beer fridge, passed the commercial beers to the one in the back, and Sterling said, "Oh, you can have any of those beers. No, this is the one I like.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep.
There were a couple of those types of moments that were really funny because, like I said, we were making it for ourselves, and of course, when you make a keg of something, it can take a long time to get through it when there's a couple people, and believe it or not, you might get bored of the one taste.
Right.
So you have to make several, and then you have several kegs that you're trying to get through, and you say, okay, well, maybe I'll bring this to a party, and that'll help me get through it, and then we can make something else, or we can iterate on this recipe or whatever. And so, you brought it to parties, and when you start out at anything, you're not always great at it, right? You make mistakes. It doesn't come out exactly the way you want. And you get a bunch of people who take some, and they're like, oh, this is good. And, they hand it back, and maybe they don't go and get another one. That's fine. And so that was the first couple parties. And then after a couple parties, they wouldn't give it back, and they would go get another one. And you're like, okay, this is great. Like, it's going faster, which means we can make more, which is awesome. And then you started having parties where people would say, oh, hey, I'm having a party, I'm graduating, whatever. Can you bring some beer? And you're like, yeah, because it's cheaper if I bring the beer instead of you going and buying a keg from wherever. And then they started requesting specific beers. I don't just want you to bring something. I want you to bring that grapefruit IPA.
Which doesn't have any grapefruit in it. It's a question of the ingredients, and especially with the yeast, that makes it have that citrusy grapefruit taste.
All right.
And so you start getting these specific requests, and several, and the kegs aren't coming back full at all. So it started becoming this thing where it's like, wait, I think people really they like this, but they really like this. And so was one of the turning points for me. Grapefruit IPA, we entered into a homebrew competition and won a medal for it. And
second place in the
were
Swanee
those-
Beer Fest several years ago.
How about that? Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the turning point when we said, hey, people really like people might commercially like this.
So you started it kind of for fun. You started it for the science and the art of it. You started it to have more beer with less overall cost. Obviously, a budgetary
Absolutely.
and that kind of
the
stuff.
CFO would, of course, agree to that.
So, which we know that's your role there, Steve. One of the roles you have. But then in your story, it starts to become a little bit of work. Hey, we are requesting. Hey, why don't you bring that? And now it's almost like you're working at it. So Steve, let me kind of bring you in, although you've been bringing yourself into the conversation. It's almost like he's your son and you feel like you can just talk over him. But so now go to that, 20, you guys decide, okay, it's a big step to go from we're doing this for fun and people like it and people appreciate our work to now we're going to ask people to part with their money just to drink it.
So, and let me go back a year before that.
You guys just keep changing
Of
the
course.
time on the story. Go
what
ahead.
can I say? What can I
just
say?
don't
You
give
gotta have
times
that-
just in case.
You have to have that historical perspective. In 2017, in Peachtree Corners, there was a homebrew club forming, and we heard about it. So Sterling Taylor and I, the two oldest boys, decided, hey, let's go and see what it's about. And we were at the first meeting, so we're founding members of the PC Mashers Homebrew Club. If you want to read more about that, it's pcmashers.com. And we meet on the fourth Tuesday of the month at Dog Days, which is right next to Kettlerock Brewing. And it's been fun to start that. Every homebrew club is a bottle share. Everybody's, that's what you do. Our homebrew club has a style that we brew to so that we can compare similar beers. Most of the guys will be brewing to that one style for each month so that we can compare that, and everybody's wanting to get better. And so we're helping each other, and that's one of the ways that we can do that. And we kept getting better and better. And one of our guys is the vice president, Jay Brantley. When Beer Guides Radio did their thing and had the first time they had Who's the Home Brewer of the Year, he was nominated. He was voted to the Home Brewer of the Year in Georgia. He was actually also nominated for every other category he could be: the first brew pub, the best brewery, the best. But anyhow, that's kind of fun. But we all got better. And in 2018, we started talking about it as a family business. And, is that something we could do? Well, we're getting a lot better. And then Dianna joined in and said, gee, a family business, that could be fun.
And then I also said, y'all need to go and learn a little more about the professional side of this. So they went to Vermont. They had a great time learning from some of the best
In the country?
in the country. And we talked a little more with each other, and we said, hey, we can do this.
So when it goes from home to professional, home, you're doing it in the basement, you're doing it in the basement of your grandmother's house while you're going to tech. I imagine then there was going to y'all's home and kind of doing it a little bit in your own home.
There was a lot of brewing in the garage.
Yeah. So is it that you had to find space and you got to go to commercial? I mean, kind of without going too much into too much detail, obviously families from tech, we could spend 3 hours, talking about all that. But just what were some of the biggest hurdles for anyone who's a home brewer who's even contemplated, what were some of the biggest hurdles you guys faced to go from home brewing to now we're actually opening up a commercial brewery?
You really have to wrap your head around the business end of things. That's probably the hardest part of it.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, and that this is true of any small business, right?
Yeah.
It's the actual craft is very important. Like, of course, you have to have really great beer, but the hardest part is the business part because that's not what you're good at, right? That's not the part that you're practicing every day.
And you're not even thinking about that. And she talked about us going to this seminar. Brew Your Own magazine has a seminar every 6 months around the country, and the one in Vermont they had, and now it's a 3-day thing ahead of it. But at the time, it was a 2-day thing with Steve Parks doing how do you go from home brewing to professional brewing. And he had a slide deck of 150 slides for 2 days, and I went through it twice before I got there thinking, no big deal, I'll bring my PC, I'll look through the slide deck. I might take a note or two. I took 15 pages of notes because he did it the way you're supposed to do it. Here's a slide. Yap, 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 yap. Not just read the slide. It was great. But there was a lot of details in that.
And scary and
it was
formidable
scary,
all at the same
yes.
time. Yeah.
And they went through everything, not just, there's the obvious, we're not home brewing on a 5-gallon, we're a 5-barrel, which is 31 times that size. But also all the business aspects, the legal aspects, the finance aspects, all those different pieces go into it.
And the good part of that is you learn that you need to have some support, so you build a team. You're going to need your lawyer, you're going to need your brewery consultant, you're going to need your lease broker, things like that.
And the other thing that was cool, I thought that was where you're going to go, is that it turned out that our family had a lot of the individual skills. So no one person can do all of business. That's why we all have teams. And it worked out that our family had specialized in different places and in different ways. And a lot of our skills were complementary in that way. So, I don't know nothing about building construction, but that's what my dad was doing for several years, 20 years, lots of years at work. And, I'm more on the marketing side. And so my job is more design oriented. And so my sister and I are doing all the branding, all of the marketing, everything around that.
And Mom is much more on the artsy side, since she actually has an undergrad art degree, and working with the architect and designers. And we all had an opinion. And actually, when we went to the architect, here's a program of what we're looking at. Here's some ideas, some pictures, some thoughts. But between especially Dianna and Krista, they did a whole lot with the architect and pointing them, directing them the right way to get the feel of the space that hopefully are going to join us. Not right after this, but this
later
is
today.
But now she alluded to this. Actually, this is kind of funny because she said our second anniversary is coming up. It actually was last Sunday, was the actual day that we opened 2 years ago. But this weekend we're having our second anniversary celebration. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. We've got our adventure club. We have some special things going on yesterday and today. And then tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going crazy. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Dianna, as the founder, and I guess the matriarch, one of the advantages I would see is that family, different from employees. An employee can say, I'm out. I really don't want to do this. I don't see the vision the same way, or you're not paying me enough. Family's completely different. Everybody's in. Even though they may say, I don't agree with this, they're still family. Is that something that has made it easier for you to be able to kind of herd the cats all together and make this work? And we are doing this. We are all going to accomplish the goal and walk along the same page. How we get there might be a little bit different, but what's that been like for you?
It's been great, and it's also difficult. There are some hard parts to it. You can't just let them go either. You can't just say, okay, I don't care what you think.
Agreed. But we've got a problem to solve, so let's all solve it together.
Exactly.
And we may not all agree on the answer. Is that correct, too?
That's exactly true. It's
You have to agree to disagree. There's no doubt about that.
right.
I think one of the big advantages is we have, depending on who you ask, I have 30 years of experience with these people, and it's just very hard to have that much experience with any one partner, let alone 6, right? So I have 30 years of experience with everybody but my sister, who for some reason I only have 28 years of experience with, right?
Yeah,
but
you know where they live, too.
And I know where they
I know
live.
where they live. That's
I know
right,
what their
exactly.
favorite food is.
Exactly.
And Dianna, is it similar to when you were raising the kids? You separate duties. Okay, you guys are going to clean the bathroom. You guys empty the dishwasher. And when you're running a business, you guys are going to handle that. You guys are going to handle that. And even when you delegate and all that, as a family and as a business, sometimes you got to go. We got to come together. We got to talk about this.
Right. Well, you said the magic word there. You have to delegate.
Yeah.
In any team, you have to delegate. And the good news is when they're family, you really know you can depend on them. So they're going to be there. So it's been, that part has been super great. It's been stressful because it's hard to back up. But, we have weekly business meetings on Monday evenings.
Every Monday since 2018, many moons ago.
Over a glass of beer.
Of course.
Yeah. At least one.
Or a pizza or a spaghetti.
We started out with food, and then it took too long, so then we had to do it after dinner. Made sure everybody came fed.
We're speaking with Steve, Dianna, and Devon Peet with Kettlerock Brewing.
Steve, as the financial officer, where was the point that you go, we may need to get some more money, or this is bigger, we're going to take this to the next level? Was there a point that you said, what we have in terms of our other professional finances, our investment, got to the point where our vision is so beyond where we are right now?
Well, that's actually kind of our COVID story, if you will, because we got started and we were talking with the banks and got approval for our plan. Had our design docs. Went for construction, went to GCs for estimates, got the estimates back in March of 2020.
Oh, how about that?
Great timing.
Oh, great time to go back to the bank and say, oh, by the way, I'm ready to close the loan. I need some additional funding.
That's okay. We're shutting everything down.
And they said, well, there's only 2 problems here. One is we're not going to give you any additional money because, first of all, we're not going to give you any money.
Oh, how about that?
Oh, wait a minute.
Awesome.
I'm ready to tell the contractor start, and you're telling me I have no money.
So, we went back to the drawing board to get financing.
So I went to 3 local banks, and each one of those were dragging their feet. It's like, okay, I need these forms and filled out and all this information. Pause, wait, crickets. Hello? Oh, well, now I need these forms and this filled out. Crickets. Finally, our broker turned me on to another bank and was able to get the financing. He said, okay, we can make this happen. Of course, there was the government stuff happening, and that delayed a few things. So it was stressful. It was stressful.
All right. Well, let me talk about let me shift and talk about something you guys will be a little more nice to talk about. How's that?
But we got the money.
Right.
We got started.
We did open.
Well, that
We
was
did
the
open.
nice, right.
Yes.
So, Kettlerock Brewing. There's got to be a story behind the name. I'm thinking the media guy, but then it might be
It's to
Dianna's
the
story.
matriarch.
So, hey, man.
all right.
Kettlerock is a great name, don't you think?
I love the name.
Well, it turns out that our family has vacationed a lot in Western North Carolina, in the Highlands area. And it turns out that, and that's a really cool place for us. That's our happy place, so to speak. Cool vibe, mountainy, chill, vacation.
A lot of
And-
hiking places up there, a lot of trails.
And there's a mountain there called Kettlerock Mountain.
A very minor mountain.
It's not a huge mountain, but I drove by one day and I went, oh my God, this is our name. It's our
the part
name
that
because
she's leaving out there is the 2, 3, 4 months before that.
Oh,
Oh my God, what are we going to name this?
naming is very difficult.
one
Don't
of the hardest
underestimate
part,
that.
for
And,
sure.
at the time, there were 7,000 craft breweries in the United States. And
Is
if
that
you
all?
want to be the Blue Brewery, no, there is one. You want to be the Bear Brewery, there's one of those. If you want to be,
What about the Peat? Did you consider that just with your last
Well,
album?
we have a little
so
conflict
some-
with
there's-
Pete's
yeah, there's-
coffee.
How about Grandma's Basement, right? We could have
There you
that
go.
as,
Could-
yeah, we
that
could've-
would have been possible.
So the Beard Cave was actually the homebrew version label. So,
Nice.
but that just didn't.
But beer is brewed in kettles, and
yeah,
it's going to rock your taste buds.
it
Oh,
It fits.
There it is.
nice.
There it is.
Yeah. Now, was there any argument with the family over the name, or did you just say, "I've got it, boom, that's it," and stamp it?
Oh no, we all talked about it, but by that time it was
Well,
like
once you brought it to the table, it was like, no, that's it. You're right. We got it.
So here's the hard question. Was Kettlerock, did it win out over one or two other names, or were there a couple names kind of being bandied about? I'm sure there were many names that were discussed.
There were over 100 names. That
But
were
was
tossed
it
out.
that once you brought back, you had the epiphany of Kettlerock and said Kettlerock and this is why, and because of the family connection and everybody's got those experiences,
just felt
they
right.
went, there
Yep.
we go.
Yep,
You
that's-
got it, Mom. Good
That's
job.
exactly right.
And we've actually met some of the folks that are on Kettlerock Mountain since then. They've come into the brewery going, we know that name.
Funny story. This sounds like where we live, and we're like, we know.
All right, now give us some money so let's talk about the actual location and some of the beers. So for people who walk into Kettlerock Brewing, paint a picture of what they're going to experience. What's it like, and talk about some of the things that are available.
Yeah. So one of the things that's really important to us when we opened, and no fault to anybody out there, but when breweries were starting before the time that we were able to start, they were very limited in where they could start and the capital that they had to start with. And so there was a sort of running joke that breweries were all in industrial parks. They all had, picnic tables, and they all had really hard metal chairs. And, you were driving around in unsafe areas trying to get your favorite craft beer. And not to mention any of the weird laws that we had about you had to buy a ticket for a tour, like all that on top of that, right? And so when we started talking about this and thinking about this, we really thought about kind of this family room, cozy, comfortable place that you want to go and relax, right? We're not building the sports bar. We're not building this industrial, super utilitarian place. We want there to be somewhere for you to go and say, this feels like a vacation. This feels like I just came off the ski slopes. I'm gonna go relax and get a drink. And so that was kind of, you're talking about the vision that we had, and that was the vision that we were giving to the architects. Like, this is where we're going with this, while we're picking all the materials and kind of building all the different pieces.
A mountain lodge kind of feel. People walk in all the time and they'll say, wow, this looks like the Rocky Mountains. And we're saying, well, it's actually North Carolina Appalachian. Oh, yeah, I get it.
Would you say that in the circle of your business development that there has been a point where you go, gosh, we need help, and there's other breweries that have been able to assist with questions and getting on to the next step, and now you're discovering, hey, I'm just getting started myself. Can you give me some pointers? Are you receiving some of those?
Absolutely. Both of those have happened. We talk about the craft brewery industry as being I use the word cooperation, which is something First Robotics has talked about.
That may be our word of the day, cooperation.
Yes,
I like that.
because the craft breweries, most of them, I mean, I'll say 95% of them are very cooperative. I've had a brewery say, hey, I ran out of nitrogen. Well, I've got a spare tank. You can take mine. I'll get one tomorrow. That happens. I had a brewery recently say, I need some bottles, some 500 milliliter bottles. Oh, I have some. You can buy mine. Another one said, we have some contract on hops, and I have extra hops. Oh, I'll go buy some. So all that sort of stuff has happened. But of course, my beer is better than theirs.
Of course. Yeah.
And I mean, the reality when you think about the beer market is that 80% of all the beer that's sold and consumed is what we'll call big beer, and that's your classic big names, right? And so when we think about competition, that's the market that we want. We want you to not drink Bud Light, Miller Lite, whatever, pick big beer, and drink craft beer instead, because it's better, it's tastier, it's all those things, it's the experience about it.
Stay local, come to your local brewery, hang out with your friends, hang out with your community.
Have your birthday party there.
And so because of that, we're not trying to say, don't go down the street to the other craft brewery and don't drink their beer, because you can drink their beer and our beer. Just drink our beer and not big beer.
So what are the, as far as the offerings, kind of talk about the lineup of beers that are offered. Are they seasonal? What are the choices if I walk into Kettlerock Brewing?
We definitely have 3 flagship beers. They are a fruited blonde, which is flavored with blood orange. There is Float Trip, which is a sessionable IPA, very citrusy. That's the one that came from the homebrew recipe that won second place at Swanee. And also our entry into the dark beer world is a wee heavy called Bear Tracks.
Oh, my favorite. My personal favorite. When Sterling made that the first time, he nailed the recipe as a home brewer. And I said, we have to have that on the kegerator all the time. And as soon as we started Kettlerock, we have to have that on tap all the time.
Boy, when you're a CFO, Stephen, that when Dad demands it, it's going to be there.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
If Devon had said,
however,
we got to have that, then...
However, I'm sure your taste buds have said, nah, I like these too, and let's experiment with it. Let's have a pumpkin spice flavor in the fall or some other things.
We do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have an Oktoberfest beer for Oktoberfest.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that after that, we branch out. I mean, this is not just about what we like. We have customers, and we want to make sure that they're happy. These 3 flagship beers are flagship beers because our customers love them. And I was going to let Devon sort of elaborate on some of the other beers because we have a wide variety.
Including that collab. That's an important one to mention.
Yeah, the one he's mentioning is the collab with the PC Mashers that we just did. It is it's an awesome Helles, which is a German beer. And we just also won another award with that one at the Georgia Craft Brewers Fest. So that was really cool. We also did a collab.
Okay, I've got to say a little more about that.
Okay.
Oh, man, your dad just interrupting you.
So the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild had a festival several weeks ago, and they were promoting collabs between the different breweries. So there were 40 collabs entered in the competition, which means... obviously, by simple math, almost 80 breweries were involved because some of them did several collabs. And of those, there were 9 in the lager category, and we won second place.
Well done.
With our homebrew club, which those guys were so excited because there were some others like A New Realm, Stillfire, Cherry Street collab, didn't medal, but we did.
So there is cooperation, but when you beat them, that's
okay.
You are allowed.
You got to be excited.
Have your moment.
You got to be excited.
All right, Devon, you were talking about some of the other.
But the other
choices.
beers, Devon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one's awesome. I was just gonna say, as you'd expect, economic times have been difficult for the last couple of years, and we have been hard at work problem solving. And I think that's, you talk about when you're home brewing versus professional. That's one of the big things, right? When you're home brewing and economic times are hard, you can make less, or you could make the one that you really like, and that's it. When you have business, you got to figure out how to move forward. That's the only way. And so we've been racking our brains and coming up with really creative solutions to problems that we think and know that they offer some like really great stuff for our customers. So one of the things that we launched with, we created a sour and a seltzer. And of course, you think of seltzers, especially in 2020, everybody had one, everybody had whatever. And our innovation there was we decided to make it unflavored, just kind of that base normal taste, which some people like as is. And we got a bunch of syrups and allowed you to pick your flavor. And we can rotate those syrups as often as we want. So if one isn't super popular, we'll go find another one. If one is seasonal, we get the pumpkin spice one in the fall. And that way you really get to have the flavor that you want, not just the flavor that we happen to make that season, year, quarter, whatever. So that was a really cool innovation. You get lots of different varieties and options there. Of course, in Georgia, having slushies over the summer, super awesome, very, very popular. Everybody loves being able to have a bunch of different flavors there too as well. And really, we just try and keep that innovation going in all the different parts of our business. So of course, we've started a barrel aged program for the second anniversary. We've got a couple barrel aged beers being released. Spoiler alert, they're amazing. You're definitely going to want to go. If you like barrel aged beers, go today, because one of them is going to run out basically immediately. We have a barrel of it. That we recently started looking into how can we do spirits again. We're talking about our somewhat archaic laws in Georgia, and one of them is that a brewery can't do anything that is over 13.9, has to be under 14% alcohol. And so, of course, any spirit is above that. And to do a spirit, you have to get a liquor license, you have to become a distillery, you have to start up this whole other part of your business, you have to buy a still, all these other things. And that just wasn't in the cards in the economic uncertain times. So again, we were brainstorming, we were trying to figure out how can we get help customers that want this type of thing. We have people who come in all the time with either they're with their significant other, or they are looking for something lighter in like volume or taste as opposed to maybe alcohol, or just maybe they don't like beer and they're like with someone. And so we're trying to figure out how we can help serve these people. And we landed on this idea of taking that seltzer that we had and brewing it to 13.9% and using that as the base for cocktails. And it worked surprisingly well. It was crazy. We went and did a taste test, which was a lot of fun. I'll invite you next time. But we did this taste test where it was like, all right, we're going to mix a bunch of our classic cocktails and figure out how much we have to change these recipes. And a lot of the times we didn't have to change them at all. We just threw the lime, the orange, the triple sec, whatever it was in there, and got the cocktail, and it tasted very much like you'd expect it to taste with that seltzer base. And so that's a cool, unique kind of way to approach that problem and diversify our lineup and serve more customers that we've been trying to do.
Speaking of serving customers, real quick, Dianna, as the founder, what's the next step of growth for you guys? And how do you make sure, is it just, do I need to come into the shop, so to speak, or will deliveries be available? And how are we going to be able to get access to the product?
Well, that's a very good question, because we are moving forward with that. We've dabbled in distribution a little bit. In Georgia, you have to follow the 3-tier system, except for the what we can sell out of the tap room. So we're distributing now to some local restaurants, and we hope to move into that in a bigger way as we grow.
And I'll jump in and say that the best way for that to grow, if anybody's out there and has had Kettlerock beer and likes it, or has some Kettlerock beer and likes it, the best way for that to grow is to go tell your favorite bar, restaurant, whatever, that you want Kettlerock on tap. Because that's how it works, right? They have to request it from the distributor, et cetera. It goes through the system, kind of backwards. But that showing that there's demand is the key way to help that growth happen.
Hey, all restaurants, reduce the amount of big beer you have and have more
Local
have
craft
more
beer.
Local craft
Yeah,
beer. I
absolutely.
have some bad news and some good news. The bad news is I've got to wrap up the show, but the good news is when we wrap up the show, we can all go to Kettlerock Brewing and enjoy a nice IPA and some of the nice beers that you guys have. So I want to rapid fire ask some questions for those that have listened so long. I've enjoyed this conversation about science, art, and business all mixing together to make a nice, great beer. So first off, give us the exact location of where Kettlerock Brewing is.
6025 Peachtree Parkway, which is in Peachtree Corners.
Okay.
And if you're coming north on Peachtree Industrial, where it splits into Peachtree Parkway, we're the third traffic light on the left, catty corner from the Marriott Hotel, if you happen to know where that is, at the corner of Jaybird Alley and Peachtree Parkway.
That's a great description. Somebody give me the hours.
Well, we're open Tuesday through Sunday. On the weekdays, it's 4 to 10. On Saturday, it's 12 to 10.
Okay.
On Sunday, it's 1 to 8.
I like the way we're going down the line. So, Devin, I'm going to ask you. You guys are not only open those hours, but talk about we're listening. Business owners are listening. Business leaders are listening. There was a mention of birthday parties. Some of the special event stuff. Talk about your availability for special events or non-standard. You just come in and grab a beer.
Yeah, totally. We do special events all the time. All you have to do is go to our website at kettlerockbrewing.com/events or or send us an email at kettlerockmarketing@gmail.com. And it's really, really flexible. So there's lots of opportunity. You can do completely private parties and buy out the whole place. You can have semi-private parties. You can just come and celebrate your birthday. You can do buy tabs. You can do everybody has their own tab. There's like all sorts of different options. We really customize it to what you want, what your budget is, and what you're trying to do.
So you started with beards in a basement, and you've now gotten to the point where you're really listening to people and listening to what they're saying and try to meet their needs when it comes to having a good time and not just getting sauced, but actually enjoying a good beer with good times and good people.
And
Absolutely.
And I would want Dianna to talk about one of the special kinds of events that we do, which is fundraising.
Okay, so Steve has now gone from talking over his son and kind of interrupting. Now he's interrupting the hosts and like hosting the show. I mean, man, Steve, like you run your own brewery or something.
Well,
so I'm just kidding. I'm totally ribbing you. So yes, so Dianna, he asked a great question. And I talked over it. Now you forgot what it was. So
right.
ask it again, Steve.
Okay.
I ruined the show.
I've heard that there's some fundraising opportunities at Kettlerock Brewing.
Yes, absolutely. We do spirit nights for school organizations like PTAs and any other kind of nonprofits. We also we do personal events, for birthdays and things like that. But we also do corporate events, and we've even been moving into some corporate retreats for daytime events. So we'd love to, expand in that area. We have a lot of
come have your
options
quarterly
for those.
offsite
Yeah.
at Kettlerock.
Have a business meeting.
And put your stuff up on a projector, talk about all your great numbers this quarter, and then at lunch have a beer with it.
Because after all, it takes too long for the food to get there, right?
Of
So
course.
why not just have it with beer? By the way, Steve, that was a fantastic question. Very well done.
Thank you.
Steve,
Sometimes
Dianna,
I get lucky.
Yeah. Steve, Dianna, and Devon Peet from Kettlerock Brewing. Thank you guys so much for being here. And my very last question: give the names again of the other family members who couldn't be with us today, but are very involved in the company.
That would be Sterling is the oldest, then Taylor, and then Devon, who's here, and Krista, who's in Denver right now. Sterling's actually in Houston at the Johnson Space Center.
And we'd love to invite everybody to come to our anniversary this weekend. We are going to have a chainsaw carver on Saturday afternoon. So please come see him. He's one of the best in the country. He's amazing. His name is Chad Gainey. You can look him up online. We also are going to have the opportunity for customers to do axe throwing on Sunday afternoon from 2 to 5.
Axe throwing and beer, what could be better?
I was thinking, what could go wrong?
Super exciting. And also we'll have some other vendors and food from Dog Days. So we're really looking forward to a great time and great music on Friday and Saturday night.
So it's Kettlerock Brewing, 6025 Peachtree Parkway. Check out their website, kettlerockbrewing.com. I'm sure you can search Kettlerock Brewing on all the social media platforms.
Absolutely.
Because that's one of the things Devin does. The Peet family, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate you guys
You
coming
guys
to the
are
studio.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for
We
hosting us.
appreciate you having us.
Well, we've had a great experience here. Some people don't have a great experience when they're looking at a new car. Subaru would like to make that different for you. You can enjoy the hassle-free experience of Subaru and the big savings that they have as well, where people love to get you your next car. Visit SubaruofGwinnett.com. You can visit them on site. They are on Satellite Boulevard in the Duluth area near the Gwinnett Place Mall. Stephen likes to go with smoke signals. I'm kind of a Morse code guy. Whatever it is, they'll find a way to get in touch with you to talk about the next vehicle that you might be wanting to purchase. SubaruofGwinnett.com. Join their family today or come in and see the difference.
How did you know I know how to do smoke signals?
Well, it's economical, right?
Not really.
It's not. They've got some privacy issues with the smoke signals, but
But
it's
yes,
cost effective.
You
It's a
are
great
correct.
way, yeah.
Subaru of Gwinnett has helped me and communicated with me via smoke signals.
Yeah.
And you on Morse code, they responded to your message?
Yeah, I'm going carrier pigeon next.
That's another.
Do you ever
good
have
one.
the blue ink from the carbon paper back in the day when you were?
Listen,
know the blue ink?
My mom was a sixth grade teacher for 30 years. I remember the smell of the Ditto machine.
How about that?
I got to the point where I was allowed to change the liquid in that and was told, don't let that get on your skin. And I'm like, but we touched it after it comes through the machine. So, yeah, it was.
The glue smell also. There's certain things at school that it'll stick with you for a long time.
Well, okay. So,
But
all
that
right.
little tick that you have, that's not that. You're getting better. Just don't touch this. It's toxic.
The doctor said it can't get any worse as long as I stay away from mimeograph and Ditto machines.
But it's child safe.
Yeah, absolutely. The purple ink that comes out. All right, so we've talked about that. The only thing left to do is enjoy a great glass of beer. So Harper and I are going to go do that. We're going to do it with our producer Dan and also with Mike. So for the whole crew here from Business Radio X, this is Stephen Julian saying we will catch you next time on Gwinnett Business Radio.